Hey guys, I think you understand that at some point in your life you're going to have to communicate with someone from another culture. Sometimes it'll seem easy and will be easy to do. At other times it could be quite challenging, especially when you know that some of the things they do in their culture, some of their behaviors are very different than your own. To get going, to get us thinking, to stretch you a little bit, I want to share 3 examples of some cultural behaviors that are very different than things that I would do. In fact, I would never do these things. Sometimes when I see them, I get the feeling that these are wrong, these behaviors are wrong, and we don't do that where I'm from, please don't do that. So I have all these reactions happening inside me and in my head. But what I want to do after the videos is share some tips on how to communicate with people, how to get my mind in the right kind of frame of mind in order to communicate with people from other cultures when I know some of their behaviors could be very different than my own. So the first example is a group of Padang women. In this village, they put metal rings around their necks to give their necks a stretched look. It's a sign of prestige and it celebrates womanhood, but it hurts. You can see little children, little girls getting it put on their necks and it hurts them. There's x-rays showing how it crushes the rib cage. It doesn't make the neck longer, it actually crushes these upper bones here. But every woman in the village does it, and that's our first example. The second example is a temple in India where they worship rats. And in this temple, there are thousands of rats everywhere. You take your shoes off, you're walking in rat urine and feces, you give food to the rats. The rats are in the kitchen as they make food and they feed rats in that temple from their kitchen. And one of the highest honors is to eat with the rats. So literally you're giving food to the rat and eating the same food or eating out of the same bowl that the rat is eating out of. That's example number 2. The third example is from Kenya in Africa, where they drink fresh blood from a cow. They shoot the cow in the neck with an arrow, collect its blood, and they pass it around and they drink it. All right, those are my 3 examples of behaviors that I probably would never do. I don't think that they're safe to do, but yet I might have to communicate with somebody from a culture that does do things like that. How do I do that? Here's some advice. Number 1, I need to understand that culture is learned. It's not genetic. People aren't born doing those things, they learn that. That's very important, that if they can learn to do those things, it means I can also learn about those things. I don't have to agree, I don't have to participate, I don't have to think that that's good and healthy, but I still can learn about it and learn why they do it. Number 2, I need to understand that those behaviors make perfect sense to them. That if I was to ask them why they do it, they'd be able to explain with logic. They might even be able to back it up with medical evidence or articles. Just like I might give them articles to try and prove them wrong, they would be able to back it up with evidence why it's a good thing. I met a man from South America that drank fresh blood when he was a child. He was in a village, there wasn't a hospital nearby. He was sick and almost dead, and he drank fresh blood and he lived. And in his mind, that saved his life. How am I supposed to convince him that drinking blood is wrong when it's something that saved his life? So I need to understand it's going to make logical, perfect sense to the people from that culture. Number 3 is very important and actually challenging to understand. It goes something like this. If I were born there, I would be doing those things. I would be defending those things with logic and with my own style of evidence. It's very important to keep that in mind. Sometimes even in my own country, if I was just to relocate 1 or 2 provinces over, I could have a completely different idea about what was right and wrong and acceptable as far as behaviors and attitudes go. All right, the last thing I want to share with you is a word called ethnocentrism. If you break this word apart, you see the word ethno or ethnicity and centrism or central. It's where you think your ethnicity or your culture is central and other cultures are outside that or inferior. So you think your ethnicity and culture is right and good and superior, and every other ethnicity or culture is less correct or inferior to yours in some way. When we start thinking in these ways, basically we start treating people, or we can start treating people in different ways than we would treat somebody from our own culture. And wars have been fought over this. We start seeing people as less than ourselves, and it becomes very dangerous. And it usually starts off fairly subtle. It's not like one day you just wake up and you're like, I'm ethnocentric today. No, it comes in stages and it's very subtle. Like you maybe will just start avoiding people or don't talk to people from other ethnicities or cultures. Maybe you'll physically create space and you'll move away from those people. Maybe you react different when you drive, or you speak in different tones to people from other ethnicities or cultures. These are little steps towards could be aggressive behavior, negative behavior towards people from other ethnicities and cultures. There's some more activities below to help us think about how to communicate with people from other cultures, and then assignment at the end.